Music on bells can sometimes sound a bit out of tune. But do some songs sound more out of tune than others? And are there actually songs that sound perfectly in tune on bells? Well, to figure this out, we've got to look at the musical scales around which songs are based and see which scales sound more in tune on bells. Now, there are loads of musical scales out there, the most common being major scales and minor scales. So let's start with these. A major scale doesn't really sound that great on bells. Why? Because bells have minor overtones. Even if I play just one bell, a C, you're hearing a minor third in E flat in that single bell, and that clashes with the major sound. And I've got a whole video on that, so go check that out if you haven't already. Okay, so given the minor overtones, you'd probably think that a minor scale will sound better. And yeah, it does. That minor third in the C bell is in tune with the rest of the scale. So are minor scales and minor keys what we're looking for? Well, they're certainly better than major scales and major keys on bells, but they're not perfectly in tune. I'll show you why. And this is going to get a bit technical, so bear with me. Let's examine the minor scale close up and check each minor third overtone against the scale. So in this C minor scale, the tonic, C, has an E flat as its minor third overtone. And that E flat is in the scale, so that's great. The second note, D, has an F as its minor third overtone, also in the scale. That's great. The third note, E flat, here we're getting some problems. Its minor third is a G flat, not in the scale. Not great. If this is confusing at all, you've really got to go check out that video I told you about, where I slow down and show you the minor third. The next note, F, its minor third is an A flat. That checks out. G has a minor third of a B flat. That checks out. But then A flat's minor third is a C flat. Not great. And B flat, minor third would be a D flat. Also not great. So we found 3 notes in the scale that have minor overtones that are going to clash with the rest of the scale. And this is going to create some dissonance when playing in a minor key on bells. One way to hear this would be if I played a minor scale and simultaneously played all the minor thirds above it. It's not exactly a minor sound anymore. And if I played just the minor scale on bells, you're really hearing all those overtones too. So yeah, the minor scale is better on bells, but it's not perfect. You might ask about other kinds of minor scales, because there are actually several. That was the natural minor scale, but I could also try the harmonic minor scale, or the melodic minor scale. But those scales are going to have similar problems. We could also try modal scales, which are just major or minor scales, but starting on a different scale degree. So in addition to major and minor, we could try Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, or Locrian. Locrian kind of works because its root chord is all minor thirds, but some of the other notes in the scale are going to clash. And really, these modal scales are going to have the same problems as major or minor scales, but just in different places. Don't get me wrong, I love playing modal music on bells, and I love writing modal music for bells. But when it comes to finding the most in tune scale on bells, we've got to look somewhere else. In my last video, I introduced the diminished chord. The diminished chord sounds perfectly in tune on bells, because it's all minor thirds stacked on top of each other. So is that our scale? Just these 4 notes? Well, I could flourish on that scale, but I can't really go anywhere with it. I need more notes if I want to do anything interesting. So let's start with the notes of our diminished chord, and let's add some notes. But how many? And where do we add them? Well, the diminished chord is fully symmetric by the nature of how we designed it, just stacking minor thirds. So if we were to add just 1 note or 2 or 3, we'd be ruining that symmetry. To keep the symmetry, we should add 4 more notes, and we should make them equidistant apart from each other. It's kind of arbitrary if we put them a half step up from our existing chord or a whole step up from our existing chord. So let's just pick a whole step. And look, those 4 notes we added, those are also a diminished chord on their own, a different diminished chord. So really what we're doing is superimposing one diminished chord on top of another. Okay, so now we have a bigger scale. Let's see how it sounds on bells. And then let's check all those minor third partials against the scale, like we did before. The C produces an E flat overtone. That's in the scale. D produces an F overtone. E flat produces a G flat overtone, same as F sharp. F produces an A flat overtone, same as G sharp. F sharp gives an A overtone. G sharp gives a B overtone. A gives a C overtone. And B gives a D overtone. I think we got it. For every note in this scale, its minor third is also in the scale. This scale is an octatonic scale. Octatonic meaning it has 8 tones or 8 notes. And most scales, major, minor, modal scales, have 7 notes. So 8 is different. And the octatonic scale does sound different. It's not happy like a major scale, but it's not quite sad like a minor scale either. There's something kind of sinister about it, or eerie. But if I play an octatonic scale on bells, some of that sinister tension is gone, as the partials in each bell sound in harmony with the rest of the scale. Okay, so could we make a whole bunch of octatonic scales by superimposing all the different diminished chords on top of each other? Well, there actually aren't that many versions of the octatonic scale, because there just aren't that many diminished chords. They're all just in versions of each other. So while there are 12 of each of the major and minor scales, the octatonic scale only has 3 versions, one starting on C, one on C sharp, and one on D. If we were to start on any other note, we would just be repeating one of these 3 scales. And while major and minor scales are 2 of 7 modal scales, the octatonic scale only has 2 modes. I can either start with a whole step, or I could start with a half step. Okay, now I could nerd out about the octatonic scale for a long time, because it's just really cool. It's so much more than just 2 diminished chords on top of each other. Look, in the scale, we can find major triads, minor triads, as well as lots of 7th chords, dominant 7ths, minor 7ths, and minor 7th flat 5s. As a composer, the octatonic scale gives so many possibilities. Okay, so now that we've got our scale, let's find a song based on this scale. That's the whole point. The problem is, almost all of music is based on major or minor keys. To find an octatonic song, we've really got to look at music specifically written for carillon. And there are quite a few compositions that use the octatonic scale exclusively. I've written a few myself, but today we're going to look at John Corder's Fantasia Octatonica. There it is. John Corder, to give him a quick bio, was a professor of music at Berea College in Kentucky, where he played organ and carillon. He's one of the most successful and prolific composers for carillon in North America, with more than 20 compositions published, all of which are still regularly played around the world. His Fantasia is one of his most recognized works, and like the title suggests, it utilizes a single octatonic scale exclusively. It never deviates from that scale. I'll play the entire song for you on bells at the end of the video, so stick around for that. But first, I just want to show you a few measures on the piano. The piece actually opens with a major sound, then quickly adds the 7th to get this A-flat dominant 7th sound. We don't know it's octatonic yet, not from this first measure. In fact, our ears are probably expecting this measure to resolve to D-flat. But no, instead we get an A natural. And this immediately alerts us that something is different here. At this point, we know this isn't going to be your typical fanfare. And a moment later, Corder is really spelling it out for us, taking us right up the octatonic scale, delivering us fully into the octatonic world. Let's listen to that opening sequence on bells rather than on piano. Notice how much clearer that sound is on bells? It's almost jarring, really, to hear something so dissonant sound consonant. Further along in the composition, there's a softer section that starts, again deceivingly, with an F major chord. And then again, Quarter adds D sharp to get that dominant 7th sound. The G sharp enters though, and we're back to octatonic sound. Really, we never left the octatonic sound. It's just that the octatonic scale has those major, minor, and 7th chords built into it. Listen to that passage on bells. It sounds better, right? The bass melody sweeps out from under the harmony with this simple but broad stroke, but it's all within the octatonic scale. And again, something sinister or dissonant is sounding downright pleasant. So there you have it. The octatonic scale is the most in-tuned scale on bells, and octatonic music on bells sounds pretty cool. That doesn't mean that I only play octatonic music. One look at my YouTube channel will show you that's just not true. Because the truth is, almost all of music is written in major or minor keys. And I love to play classical, pop, film, jazz, music, whatever. And if I only played octatonic music, I'd have a pretty limited repertoire. And despite how in tune octatonic music is on bells, people in the neighborhood might not want to hear octatonic music all day, every day. So I mix it in here and there. And when I'm playing in a major key or a minor key, well, there are tricks in arranging or composing that will help minimize the clashing of that minor third. But nothing will ever truly beat the octatonic scale, not on bells. So for now, let's just fully immerse ourselves in the octatonic world in Quarter's Fantasia. All right, thanks for watching, and go play some octatonic music.